At my wedding, the air smelled like frosting and perfume sweet enough to choke on. The band had just switched to a slow, dreamy number when my mother leaned into my shoulder, her smile perfectly crafted for the circling photographers. "We're giving the car from Evan's parents to your sister," she said, her voice as light and casual as if she were commenting on the centerpieces. Beside her, Danielle giggled, the sequins on her dress scattering light. "Don't be so dramatic," she chimed in. "It's just a car." No one else at the table seemed to notice, but my stomach plummeted, a cold, final drop. My new husband didn't move a muscle. He just watched them, his expression calm and utterly unreadable. And in that quiet look, my entire world shifted. They say your wedding day shows you who truly loves you. Mine showed me who never really had. I was raised in a home where fairness was a concept discussed, but never practiced. My mother, Grace, valued order above all, the kind of pristine order that made her look like a perfect parent and required my silence. My father, Richard, was a man who believed that if you ignored a problem long enough, it would solve itself. And Danielle, my younger sister, was the fragile one. The world constantly bent to her whims. I was simply the hinge that made the bending possible. When we were kids, she got the larger bedroom because she was scared of the dark. When she totaled her first car, my mother blamed the weather. I, on the other hand, worked 2 jobs to buy my own beat-up sedan, which my mother called building character. Danielle was the reason. I was the resource. That was the pattern that shaped me. Someone was always taking, and someone was always there to justify it. By 29, I had painstakingly built a life outside of their narrative. I was an interior designer, a woman who was precise, self-reliant, and paid her own way. Meeting Evan felt like finally stepping into a warm, gentle sunlight. His family believed in things like boundaries and mutual respect. They weren't wealthy, but they were generous in the ways that truly matter, with their time, their trust, and the space they gave you to be your own person. At our rehearsal dinner, his parents handed me a small envelope with a silver key inside. "You two have built this life yourselves," his father said. "This is just a little something to help you move forward." It was a used car, spotless, reliable, and legally in my name. It wasn't about the value of the thing, it was a symbol of their trust, a testament to a true partnership. That night I saw my mother's expression, tight, polite, her mind already whirring with calculations. She smiled at Evan's parents and said, "How incredibly thoughtful," but her eyes darted to Danielle, an old, familiar reflex. I should have recognized it for the warning it was. On the morning of the wedding, she fussed with my veil, telling me how proud she was. "You've always been so generous, Eva," she said, her heavy, sweet perfume filling the air between us. "Never lose that quality." I smiled back, pretending not to understand the directive hidden in the compliment, but a part of me knew. Some gifts are not meant to be shared. The reception was a whirl of noise and forced cheer. Evan's hand was a steady weight on my back as we danced, and for a single, suspended moment, I almost believed in the illusion of safety. Then I saw my mother weaving through the crowd, her pageant smile firmly in place. She stopped beside us, her perfume a trailing cloud. "We're passing that lovely car from your in-laws over to your sister," she announced, her tone just loud enough to be heard by nearby tables. The music and laughter seemed to warp and fade around her words. Danielle materialized, glowing under the string lights. "Relax," she said with a dismissive shrug. "It's just a car." But it was never about the car. It was about a lifetime of things being taken from me and repackaged as a family virtue. I looked at my mother's perfectly composed face, so utterly convinced of her own benevolence. She tilted her head, waiting for me to perform my role of the grateful, compliant daughter. "You and Evan can manage with one vehicle," she added smoothly. "You've always been the practical one." A camera flash went off, capturing her hand on my arm, her brilliant smile. In the photo, no one would see the subtle pressure of her fingers. I said nothing. Evan's thumb brushed my wrist, a silent question. "Are you okay?" I breathed in the cloying scent of frosting and a deep, old habit of obedience. My father drifted over. "What's all this?" he asked, his eyes nervously shifting. "Nothing serious," my mother cut in. "We're just helping Danielle out. You know her terrible luck with cars." Danielle laughed, a soft, rehearsed sound. "It's fine, she doesn't mind sharing." Sharing, the word landed like a blow. I thought of all the late nights I'd spent fixing her mistakes, the clothes she'd borrowed, and never returned the endless apologies I'd made on her behalf. A lifetime of small surrenders, all dressed up as love. I gave a small, calm smile. "You're right," I said. "I don't mind sharing." My mother's shoulders relaxed, mistaking my stillness for surrender. Evan didn't. His hand found mine, firm and sure. Across the room, the fairy light seemed to flicker. The air grew taut. I leaned close to his ear. "It's starting again." He looked at me, not surprised, just ready. And in that quiet exchange, I understood. They hadn't come to celebrate me. They had come to see how much of me was still theirs to control. Later, after the cake was cut and the crowd began to thin, I smiled through a haze of hollow congratulations. When the last of the guests trickled out, Evan and I slipped into a quiet hallway. He leaned against the wall, loosening his collar. "Do you want me to handle this?" "No," I said, my voice steady. "We already did." He frowned, then remembered. We had talked about this months ago, half joking over Chinese takeout. My mother's sense of entitlement wasn't a new development. It was a family tradition, and I had decided to end it. 2 weeks before the wedding, a friend who worked as a paralegal helped me draft a simple, notarized declaration. It stated that any gift given in my name was my sole property and could not be transferred or sold without my written consent. I'd signed it in dark blue ink. Evan had signed right beside me. I remembered my friend's words as she notarized it. "This isn't paranoia, it's preparation." Back in the hallway, Evan took my hand. "You knew she might try this." "I hoped she wouldn't," I admitted, but I didn't want to bleed without a bandage this time. We stood listening to the muffled sounds of my family from the banquet room. It all sounded distant, like something that was already over. Evan's phone buzzed. A text from a guest. "Your sister's already posting pictures with the car." He showed me the screen. There was a photo from our own garage, Danielle posing beside the vehicle with the caption, "Finally got a ride that fits me." A dry, humorless laugh escaped me. She couldn't even wait until morning. He met my gaze. "So what's the plan?" My fingers brushed against the thick envelope in my clutch. "Now," I said, "we let them spring their own trap." Evan exhaled, a slow sound of pride. "Then let's go finish this." We walked back into the ballroom. The band was playing another bland, romantic tune. The air itself felt different now, thin and charged. My mother was holding court near the remains of the cake, her laughter a little too loud. Danielle was beside her, phone in hand. "There you are," my mother called out, as if we'd just returned from a pleasant stroll. Everyone was wondering where the bride and groom disappeared to. "I was just handling some final details," I said. Her smile was victorious. "Good, we're about to leave. Danielle needs a ride home anyway." Evan took a small step forward. "But she has one now, doesn't she?" My mother blinked. "What, the car? I said she's taking it." Danielle tensed. "Oh, come on, Eva," she said, her voice straining. "Don't make this weird, it's just a car." "I'm not making it anything," I replied, my voice even. My father moved closer, his peacekeeping instinct kicking in. "Can we not do this here?" I turned to him, calm. "Here is exactly where she started it, publicly." The band's playing faltered. A few guests turned to look, the festive atmosphere turning sharp. My mother's smile became rigid. "Eva, sweetheart, you're overreacting. It was a simple misunderstanding." Evan held out the envelope. "You might want to read this before you finish that sentence." Her hand hesitated before she took it. She glanced from Danielle to me, then unfolded the paper. The rustle was deafening in the sudden quiet. Danielle leaned in to read over her shoulder. Confusion, then dawning recognition, and finally, a slow drain of color from both their faces. My mother attempted a laugh. "What is this? A notarized declaration?" "Executed 2 weeks ago," I confirmed. "It states that all wedding gifts in my name are legally protected. They can't be sold, gifted, or transferred without my written consent. Any attempt to do so triggers a legal review." The final words hung in the air. Conversation at the nearby tables died completely. Someone whispered, "Oh, wow." Danielle let out a sharp, panicked laugh. "You can't be serious." "I am completely serious," I said, holding her gaze. My father sighed, a heavy, disappointed sound. This is petty, Eva. No, I said softly. Petty is pretending that theft is a family tradition. My mother's voice hardened. We're family. You don't treat your family like criminals. You went into our garage, I replied. You took photos with the car and posted them online as if it were already hers. That was a joke, Danielle insisted. It was symbolic. Symbolic of what exactly? Evan asked, his tone dangerously quiet. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. I turned back to my mother. This was never about a car. It's about the pattern. You call it love when you take what's mine and tell me I'm a better person for having given it up. You're being dramatic, she snapped. Maybe, I conceded, but this time the drama has witnesses. A ripple went through the remaining guests. Phones were subtly raised. Someone's aunt mouthed drama behind her glass. Danielle's voice cracked. You'd really humiliate your own family like this. I'm not humiliating anyone, I said. I'm just ending the script. Evan took my hand, his presence an anchor. Mrs. Harper, you should hold on to that document. It's legally binding. My mother stared at him as if he'd personally betrayed her. You encouraged this. No, he said. She didn't need encouragement. She just needed respect. Danielle's face flushed a blotchy red. You married up, didn't you? You think you're better than us now. Evan didn't answer. I did. Better, no, boundaried, absolutely. The word seemed to echo in the suddenly silent room. Boundaried. It was a foreign concept in that house. My mother tried one last, desperate tack. We raised you to be kind. You raised me to give, I corrected. You taught her to take. That was the fracture, the single sentence that split the evening in two. The band stopped playing altogether. The fairy lights flickered once, as if in agreement. Danielle stepped forward, trembling with rage. You'll regret this. I offered a faint, tired smile. I already have, for 29 years. For the first time, my mother's perfect composure shattered. Her voice wavered, stripped of its authority. Eva, please, don't do this in front of everyone. Then you shouldn't have started it in front of everyone. She opened her mouth, but no words emerged. The silence that fell was thick and absolute. Evan turned toward the band. Play something, he said, his voice low but clear. The musicians looked at me. I gave a single nod. The music started again, soft but defiant. Evan led me back to the center of the dance floor. The guests parted for us, their expressions a mix of shock and morbid curiosity. As we moved, I saw a reflection in the mirrored walls. My mother, pale and still. Danielle, her mascara starting to run. My father, staring at the floor as if he wished it would swallow him. The envelope lay on the table between them like an uninvited guest. Breathe, Evan whispered into my hair. I am, I said, and for the first time all night I truly was. When the song ended, I turned to my parents, still frozen by the cake table. Help isn't theft, I said, my voice clear and even, and love isn't access. I placed my empty champagne flute down beside the envelope, and hand in hand with Evan, I walked away. There was no applause, only a roomful of stunned whispers, like the wind through a door you've just closed for good. Outside, under the cool night sky, I exhaled everything I'd been holding inside for years. Evan slipped his arm around my waist. You okay? He asked. I nodded, a genuine weight lifting from my shoulders. I think I just stopped apologizing for existing. He smiled. About time. We stepped toward our car, the same car they had tried to take, its engine a quiet promise of freedom. Somewhere behind us, in that glittering ballroom, the smile my mother had crafted for me my entire life had finally, irrevocably, fallen.